Welcome everyone to another episode of the Planet Nerdtooine podcast. Today, not only will we have the great Year of the Collector joining us, as he always does, as the co-host, but we also today are welcoming a fantastic guest, one of our good friends, the man, the myth, the legend, JJ from the Indie Inkwell and other glorious
I'm all
social
over the
media
damn place, man.
platforms.
How's it
He's
going,
doing a
everybody?
lot of things.
Renaissance man over here.
I must say, this is only the second time I've ever been on someone else's stream, and it's the first one that's been doing it live. So this is a very nice change of pace. I'm not the one having to worry about controlling everything and stuff. I could
Right.
just sit and hang out
And,
with you
and
guys.
and I am looking like a fool. So now that is out the way, welcome everyone. We're really excited to be here today. We're going to be talking about something that's really important, but it doesn't seem like the majority of the comic book community seems to either care or know. So today we are going to try and kind of explain why we think this is such a big deal, what is the big deal, and what this means for the whole comic book community, but especially the indie comic book community. And with that, anyone have some opening arguments or opening words they would like to say before we really get running here?
Yes, let me tell our audience, whoever is watching, what it is that we're talking about, right? And it's the fall of diamond distributors. If you don't know anything about comics or you don't know anything outside of like the actual hobby, Diamond was like basically the number one distributor for all comic books for the past close to 30 years, right? They
They had
basically
pretty much a monopoly on the
yes,
industry for those
that
30
I,
years.
that is
isn't
the
it closer to 40 really though? Like
It's
right,
closer to 40, yeah, but
right.
everything on the internet is saying 30, so that's what you guys
Yeah,
are probably
because
gonna end up seeing
because
online.
yeah,
I know for me it's ever since I was born.
right.
You know what I mean? And I'm and
100%.
I'm
Well,
I'm, I'm
Yeah,
inching close to 40, so it's
yeah.
got to be.
For our entire lifetime, every comic book was distributed, right? Through Diamond, right? And when I say that, I mean everything you can think of, right? Like you will find in the shelves of your local comic book store, your DC, your Marvel, your Image, your IDW, your Boom, your Dark
Archie,
Horse,
freaking
your
everything.
Archie, even your
Mhm.
DC Connect, your Marvel previews,
Your
uh,
indie publishers went through Diamond.
all of it, right?
Yep.
And like JJ was saying, they had a monopoly on the distribution, right? Um, and this is basically where my knowledge is gonna end when I stop talking here because what I do know is um, you have your publishers, they'll print the book and instead of like delivering themselves, right, they always have a middleman to distribute these books, right, these comic books, and that was Diamond for the most part, right? And what happens is um, typically you've seen this in any other type of business when a company grows so large that basically overwhelms and basically pushes everybody out and become a monopoly. They start over the years, they start to basically ease off or relax on their business policies, on their practices, right? They started to
Standard.
give preferential treatment or more of their attention and their efforts to their big customers, right? If you have a let's say you live in, let's say, perfect example here, Colorado, right? The big fish here in Colorado is Mile High Comics, right? It's been around forever. It's a huge comic book store. Imagine like walking inside a Walmart, but it's just a
Yeah,
comic
I was
book
literally about to
store.
say it's like a
Right,
And
Walmart
they're
just for
actually
like
gonna be
comic
tied into
collectors.
one of the rumors I'm gonna be
right.
talking about near
Okay,
the end of this
perfect.
conversation,
Perfect.
so
Perfect. That was not planned. That was not planned. So imagine there is an issue with distributing, right? There was a limited amount of copies, or some books were not
God damn it.
printed right. If you have to make an example right out of this, Diamond will give preference and will attend their big customer first, which let's say Maha Comics, right? Because they're a big face. They will order the most out of everybody else in Colorado State, right? And then they will address whatever issues the smaller stores will have, right? Or by the end of their monopoly, they would just completely ignore whatever problems or situations those small stores have,
Yep.
because it was like, well, they didn't get their books. We'll get to them eventually, or we'll refund them eventually. Let's worry about the big customers, our
Yep.
mile high, our midtowns, our whatever big stores, right? And what happened when we got to COVID? Publishers,
Everything shut down.
right? Everything shut down,
Mhm.
and publishers like Marvel and DC saw the writing on the wall when it came to Diamond, right? And what I mean by that is they saw that Diamond was going to go out of business if they continue with their practices, right? So they decided, okay, we want to separate ourselves from Diamond. How can we do that? We'll create a new distributor, right? And that's when Lunar, and I think the other one is called Penguin.
Now,
Mhm.
Penguin Random House has been around for a long time in the book publishing side of things,
So
like actual like novels and actual hardcover books.
so Luna was the one that was created from scratch,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
then Marvel, NDC, and others have started to follow suit in 2020. They started to do businesses to distribute their books to Lunar and Penguin. So basically, um, Diamond lost basically their two big fishes. What's up, Cody Collects? Saying hi on the chat there.
Well,
The big fishes, of course, Marvel and DC, they left, right? And ever since that departure, since that fallout, Diamond has been like on on the
They've been on life support for
on
about
a free
3 or
fall,
4 years,
on
it
a
feels
yeah,
like.
on a
Yeah.
free fall, right? As soon as I think it was Boom or Image could um distribute through
yeah, that
somebody
was like
else,
the
they did.
the final nail in the coffin
Right.
for really, I think, is when Boom signed on with Penguin exclusively. Well, I didn't think Boom technically, I mean, was bought by Penguin, clear if I'm not
It's a
mistaken. That's
very
the
complicated
it's
situation
it's
with
a,
all
it's
that.
yeah,
There's
it's
so many
but
contracts going back and forth with that situation.
Right.
It's hard to
So
keep track of
this
what's
is the
going on.
state. This is the
yeah,
state of Diamond right now. They have been losing money, of course. Hey, Pepper, back then, what's up? Thank you for
what
They
joining
up?
haven't just
us.
been losing money, they've been hemorrhaging
Right.
money.
Every quarter
Yeah,
they lose money. Back to back to back, they just been losing money. So they have been downsizing. They went from having warehouse all over the country to now just the one warehouse. They fire people. They've been late on their books. I think my local comic book store here, Muse Comics in Colorado Springs, the owner, his name is George. He told me that diamond deliveries have been late every week for
yep,
months, right? So that is the
and short probably too.
right. It that not too long ago, I want to say when Satana, the week that Satana #1 came out, he got a wrong order uh, from Diamond. Like a bunch of his books went to another store, and his books and the other store's books got like distributed through multiple. It wasn't even like a one for one swap. It was like a like a really bad mix up, right? So
Like the worst golden ticket charade ever.
yeah,
And what's really the I think a lot of the biggest issue is that for 32 plus years they could just do that because where else were you gonna go?
there was
There
nobody
was
And
else.
nobody
now
else, and none of these
now
comic
with
book companies had the money to distribute themselves. It
yeah,
just wasn't there. They didn't have the logistics support, they didn't have the infrastructure set up, all that stuff, which kind of leads us into where Diamond is at now, which if, Nerdtooine could pull up that first slide there, Diamond has pretty much completely given up. They've filed bankruptcy as of January 14th. And so they have until April 1st to find a buyer for the company, or they could just shut down entirely. So it's gotten to a point now where, okay, Marvel and DC and the bigger companies, they're probably going to be fine. They can afford to, they've already left Diamond, but Diamond owes dozens and dozens and dozens of companies a lot of money.
yeah. No,
The total, I think I forget the exact number, but I know it is at least 46 million. I think it is. There it is, $46,764,299.86. Now that's all together, and that's only what they've reported so far. That's without any courts going in to actually do any fact finding. That's without any like lawyers going through and really dissecting who is owed what. It's insane.
Yeah, this is Diamond
no,
saying
and
what they know they owed. This is not a after
This is
being
not a
reviewed
final
from creditors, right? Because like
yeah.
people are gonna come up there and was like, no, no, I know you reported you owe us, X amount, but it's technically this because it was wrong, and he's been collecting interest probably depending on what the deal was, right? If it was uh, getting books to distribute and then pay back, if it was um, people that owe their old severance for being fired, um, uh, rent.
There's books that are
The,
still sitting in warehouses that need
yeah,
to be
no,
shipped that won't be getting shipped. There are
ever
companies
like
saying like I know Atlantic Press, they have just said they're putting a halt on all of their creator owned projects. This is Black Panel Press. This is another company, but their publisher is saying that Diamond owes them alone $28,000, saying that our distributor Diamond Comics has filed for bankruptcy, owing us over $28,000 altogether. We need that money in order to pay our authors royalties and to print our upcoming releases, plus everything else that goes into running this business. We have a plan to set things back on course, but we need help. So we've started a GoFundMe campaign to raise donations to get us through the next few months.
that's
let me tell
The
you, as
fact
someone
that
who
these company owners are having to start GoFundMe's because
horrible.
Diamond doesn't want to pay these debts back is crazy.
No, and as someone who has gone through the process of printing his own book and working with a smaller distribution company so that I can get my book distributed. If I got it, literally, if I was screwed over by for 28 grand, that is the end of my not only my comic but my life. You know what I mean? Like it's not like
Right.
one of those
That's
things where
that like that's a car.
yeah,
yeah,
And
exactly.
like
yeah.
I know in the grand scheme of things, you think, okay, that's a company being owed that money, but that company can't pay the people that work there if they don't get that money. These
That,
companies' profit margins, you think a restaurant's razor thin? The profit margins in the comic industry are like even thinner.
Nothing.
yeah, and that's the thing
Like
about
it's literally you make your money back and just to be able to put out the
Just
next
to
one.
put out the next
yeah.
book. Like
I was about
I've
to say
interviewed over 300 indie comic book creators since I've started in this whole scene since 2020. And every one of them have said that.
that's the thing about small publishers, right? They have overhead, right? If they have an office, if they have employees, like in the quote say they have to pay those writers back, those royalties, the artists, right? And whatever money was actually made from the last series or the last project, it has to be invested, not just paying on the overhead of the business, but on hiring the next crew, the next creators, and putting money to put out the next book, right? um it's just like
And printing a book, printing comics is not cheap. I mean, it's not
No, and
uber
like, of
expensive,
course,
but it's not cheap, and
like
it's
we
only
said,
getting
Marvel and
worse.
DC, they'll be fine. They have billions of
Yeah,
dollars behind them. They're like their books are going to come out regardless. Like eventually they're going to get their system and set like perfect with Lunar. It's going to take a while to get as good as Diamond was at one point at doing this, but things take time. But
and
it's the
I do
small
think that
companies that
is
are really going to take a hit. Like just with the Indie Inkwell, we've had 4 or 5 guests just within the last couple of weeks call and cancel because they don't know if their books are going to come out or not.
damn.
yeah. See, and
Not
I
because
think
they
that's
don't want to
part of
come
the
on the show or
problem.
not because scheduling conflicts, just because they don't know if they should even promote their stuff because they don't know when it might come out now.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the problem, like we were talking about before, JJ. It's because a lot of people seem to just go, well, Marvel and DC, and I guess by extension, Image they'll be fine. They'll
And yeah,
find a
you're
way to
still
get it
good.
done. So, and
Spider-Man ain't
we're
gonna go
good.
nowhere. Superman ain't gonna go nowhere. Nothing like that. But the problem is when the other companies start going away, you start getting stagnation. Lack of competition breeds
Yep.
staleness.
And we're literally looking at that with Diamond right now. That is why we're in this position, because
Because there was
Diamond
no
got away with it for
competition
so
and there
long.
was no
Like,
need, there was no incentive for Diamond to pay through on their bills and on their debts
yeah,
because nobody was going to hold them accountable because they were the only game in town.
They still have to do business with them.
Right.
So yeah,
So even if you're getting screwed over, if you want your books to come out, guess what? You got to work with us anyway. Like,
right.
yeah. And if anybody's watching, right, if you wonder why publishers didn't just distribute their own books, well, um,
you got to pay for
you
printing.
right.
Usually a comic publisher doesn't print their own books. They pay a printing company to
Just
do
imagine
that.
building the
There's the trucks
logistics,
that have
the
to actually
infrastructure.
deliver the books.
I was about to say,
There's
you're gonna
yeah,
need a warehouse for storing. You're gonna need a place for printing. You're gonna need
you're
trucks.
talking about
You
millions and millions of dollars
exactly
of investment.
right. Diamond had the infrastructure to deliver throughout the nation, and I think overseas they had like a sister branch or a sub branch of Diamond that they had to sell. Now it's its own thing in Europe, because they need to make some money, liquidate some assets to to keep whatever business they have going. Um, but we've been talking about this for weeks, right? Me,
Yeah.
Nerdtooine, JJ has been updating every Discord server I'm in with all the updates that come out, right? No, no, like I'm not exaggerating, right? Every time
No,
No,
there's
you're
just the way you
not.
said
no,
I've
it
been
though,
spamming
you're
the
like
hell out of
every single one
everybody
that
with
I'm
these
in.
yeah,
articles that I keep
like
finding.
let me
So
give you let's put it into context for people watching, right? Like why is this is a big deal. Let's say Diamond owes, let's say IDW, enough money that if IDW doesn't get paid by, let's say, June, July, they'll go out of business because
because they need that money to
they
pay
need that
their
money
bills.
for their bills, their overhead, their creators, their employees, right? Even if they downsize, they'll still have to like
Which they've
close
all been
shop,
doing. A
right?
lot of publishers have been
Yeah.
Right. So what
gutting
happens?
their staff because there's no money coming in now.
So what happens outside of those licensed IPs that they have, like Ninja Turtles, or maybe some of the Naruto licenses that they've been using to print out comic books with those IPs. Um, Nobody else is gonna pick up outside of that IPs, right? Let's say maybe Marvel picks up the license for Ninja Turtles or for maybe Sonic the Hedgehog. But what about everything else, right? You're gonna lose not just those titles, those series, but everybody that's working on those series that didn't get a chance on any other book because they don't maybe they're new, or maybe they don't have the experience, they don't have the name recognition, or it's just their first project. Let's say all of those people are gonna be out of a job. All of those people are going to be out there with less opportunities, less ways to find employment through uh, uh, monthly comic books, right? So like JJ was saying, that would create saturation because if you've been reading comics for more or less than let's say than a year, you have branched out of your Batmans, out of your Supermans, out of your Spider-Mans, right? There is a like a whole spectrum that the indie scene gives you that you won't see in your mainstream comics, right? And if Diamond fails to pay your Image, your IDW, your Boom, your Dark Horse, your My Cave Studios, say
The
goodbye
only
to all of that,
properties that they are going to start carrying are the ones that they can afford to carry, which means big IPs. So
right?
you're talking your GI Joes, your Thundercats, your Ninja Turtles, your Transformers, your Power Rangers,
You
your
will have to like
like your Walking Deads, your
exactly. You will have to like stack those in, what makes more money to what less makes money. And let's say you love Thundercats. Good example. Thundercats is a known IP, but if it falls out of like the top 10 that makes more money, it might not get picked up by DC or Marvel to get more comics, more runs out of that, right? So,
well, I mean,
that
even like with this another thing with the smaller press is Coffin Comics, man. They're they put out a lot of like really popular, like more adult oriented horror books and stuff. And they're in the same boat,
yeah,
following the Chapter 11 bankruptcy. They're adapting to ensure fans and retailers still enjoy their titles without interruption, but effective immediately, they will no longer be fulfilling purchase orders of one of their most popular books, Lady Gunfinger. So they're going to be going direct to consumer now. So they're just bypassing the whole thing and altogether. And what's probably going to happen is they're going to have to spend millions of dollars to go and buy warehouse space, get trucks, get like, a whole shipping system in order.
And it's not easy to do that. Trust me when I tell you, as someone who does everything for his book, it is and this is just with 100 copies. I think my Ashcan I did like 50 copies. My Herwalks Monsters that of everything that I've been told is true went to print today.
That's the
Everything
rumor.
I'm told is true.
That's the rumor I
Went
heard.
to print today. Let's put it this way. They have my money now, so it better be today.
But see, with
that's neither
this,
here nor there.
even like
But
even
that's
with the direct to
450
consumer, that can
copies.
still
That's it.
present issues because if a shop can't afford to buy wholesale direct from them, then they're just not going to carry their books.
Yep.
So even these companies that are trying to adapt,
absolutely.
it's going to be a struggle at first.
Yeah.
And there's even like my local comic shop, they did buy into my book to get copies in their store. So like for them, like they're lucky that I can just hand deliver them. Like
Right, but
but
now
in a lot of
consider that
places
if
it's
a
not.
shop in, say, my neck of the woods up in Columbus, Ohio wants a box, you can't hand deliver that shit up here.
No, and it's gonna be
And it's going to cost
it's
you
gonna
like
be
a couple $100
$30,
to ship a
$40
box of
easy.
comics up there. Easy.
Even if you're only doing like, 'cause I did retailer bundles for like 20 copies, like that, I could probably keep the shipping under $50. You know what I mean? I could find a way to make that work. You know what I
Right,
mean?
but
But like,
anything more than
but that's
that,
only 20 copies.
and
Like,
that's not even gonna make you your
I'm on such
profit
a
margin at
small
that
Yeah.
point.
scale.
So, I
Yeah.
mean
What profit margin? There is no profit margin. Like,
I mean,
like
that's
we
not
were
even
talking to
enough
on.
to stack up money for your next book. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Like,
yeah,
that's
no,
the
no,
thing with that.
and trust me when I tell you that eats into it. Like a lot. I think out of all the money I got from the ash can, I think like 12% was shipping alone. Like, what do you mean? Like,
Right,
I mean,
and, like,
it was
and
only
you're a
50 books. Like,
one-man operation. I mean,
You don't
other
have to
than you and
pay
your artist
employees. You don't have to pay overhead for a location. Um,
yet,
yeah.
yet.
right, and that's
Right.
like you said, yet. Like
That's why I'm saying I've actually
and
joked
if
around.
there's
Like,
no
I'm
major
happy being a
distribution
small creator.
company, guess what you're also gonna have to find a way to do yourself. You're gonna have to find a way to distribute your shit you're on your own.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm so lucky because, like I said, I signed on with a small up and coming distribution company that's helping me out a lot with this. They negotiated everything for the
Not
printing and
everyone's gonna
everything.
be able to find that easy. So, I
No,
mean
and let me tell you, we had TS Luther on for our last episode, part one of our last episode, and we were talking off air, and he's like, man, I do everything through Diamond. I'm screwed. I'm like, all right, hold on. I might have a solution. Message this
right.
guy.
But that's
I'm
what it's gonna
telling
end up
you
being
that
is
he's
word of
coming.
mouth from
Yeah.
creator to creator and how people actually navigate through this situation. Because I mean, if you go to the next slide, even Atlantic Press, like I was mentioning earlier, they are in a situation like everybody else. Diamond was their major part of their income. 40 years of our existence. 40 years they've been going through Diamond. And now they have to, it says, unfortunately, this will impact our creator-owned projects. We may have to prioritize, may have prioritized things which can make us immediate funds that we can control their production and rights. In other words, for instance, we can do crowdfunding campaigns that will help stabilize our income, which we are unable to do with most of our creator-owned projects because we don't own those rights.
Yep.
So that's a whole company saying no more creator-owned shit for a while. And how many creators does that put out of a job? How many writers does that unemploy? How many editors? How many artists? How many inkers? How many colorists? How many letterers? How many?
The list goes on. It's like, and I think that's another part of the whole issue with this situation is I don't know if a lot of people really genuinely know or even really care, which is fine, that all that goes into making comics. It's a lot. And I know that it's not
And paperback, I just want to
everyone's
make
problem.
something clear real quick. I am not a legal expert. I am not a tax expert. I am not a bankruptcy expert. I don't know super like financial details of how all this stuff works with each individual company because every company has a different contract with their creators and their team. So it's different for everybody.
I was too busy hitting buttons. I didn't even see half of this chat. I'm sorry, chat.
This is
You know what?
I'm
Here,
sitting here
that's not,
reading and
from
listening
now
and
on, that's
talking
on
like
you.
wasn't me. I was gonna say this. If we want to be optimistic about it, right? This is the perfect moment, and this some a conversation I had with my local comic book store.
oh, you're good, paperback. I
Um,
wasn't sure what was.
um, this is the perfect time for entrepreneurs or business-minded people to uh, pull some money together to raise some funds to get some investors and create a new, lunar 2.0 2.0 let's get
And it needs to be done with the creators. The
right,
creators need to run that and at least have a hand in creating it because if this is also an opportunity for a lot of sharks to move in.
right,
Yeah.
This is also a lot of opportunity for a lot of desperate people to get taken advantage of.
yeah.
Yep.
But again,
Well,
trying to
and
be
I'm going to say this.
Yeah, I am. I'm with you. I'm trying to be optimistic as well, but I do
yeah,
want to put that kind of reality out there. Like
yeah. You're
this
right.
can
You're
go
right.
a lot of different ways.
Some hedge fund could like come up with a new, like, take advantage of the situation that people are desperate, and then uh
They
uh
see a quick buck to be made, and there's
yeah,
no telling what they'll try to do.
or squeeze the life out of the small publishers, right? We get in, we take the debt, we'll pay everybody out. Now everybody gotta we'll buy all those contracts. Now you gotta work for us or work through us, and we're gonna uh raise the expenses, raise the prices, like squeeze the money out
Which is
of.
going to drive out creator-owned properties because no
So,
creator is going to be able to afford to buy into it.
Yeah.
what I think is the biggest worry that's going to come from this, at least in my perspective, as a creator, I feel like this is a perfect time for sharks to come in and try to convince smaller creators to let them help you, but then they own the IP.
Or a very significant percentage of the IP.
Right. That is what, like, in my head, I'm like, if I was a bad guy, how could I manipulate the situation? I would be like, well, if I had all this money, you go in there and say, hey, we can help you print it. We can help you get into the previews. We can help you get into shops, but we own 75% of the of the IP.
And we want 15% of your profits.
But that, to some people, that's enough of the dream. Like, I'm not in it to try to make a lot of money. And we talked about with TS, if you're getting into comics to become extremely wealthy, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah, you in the wrong game.
But,
All right.
but that being said, I think there's definitely people need to be very careful right now. Don't do business with anyone that you don't trust thoroughly.
Do your research.
Here,
Yes.
paperback Dan, he's bringing up a good point, and I wanna put it out there. I want to ask this, right? If you're watching and you're wondering, okay, if Marvel and DC saw the writing on the wall and they left, right? Why those smaller publishers didn't leave immediately with Marvel and DC, right? Why are there still publishers distributing their books through Diamond for, well, almost 5 years later? What was the reason
So
that they haven't left there, and their companies are still relying on Diamond?
there's multiple reasons. I think the two biggest contributing factors is that, one, the reason why Marvel and DC were able to do it is because they have billions of dollars to go ahead and do something like that.
They bought
It's very easy
themselves
for
out,
them.
basically. They
Mhm.
bought themselves out.
It's very easy for them to
They can
take a
take a,
bold style. We're going somewhere,
$250,000 loss on a debt and write it
exactly.
off. A
Right.
smaller company
And,
can't
and
do that. Like,
and then another big issue is that for these almost 4 decades, the majority of the ordering was done not only through Diamond, but through Diamond's systems. And they, in these comic book shops that have been open for a long time, especially
it
small
was
mom
the
and pop shops,
only comic book
it was
ordering
the
database for comic book
only
shops.
way to do it. So they have decades of business done through there. So if you want to try to get off of Diamond, you have to figure out a new system. You have to try to find a worthy replacement, which a lot besides Lunar and Penguin, it's really good
Non-existent.
luck.
Non-existent.
Like you got
There's
to
a
basically do it on
handful of
your
teeny
own.
tiny little independent
Yeah,
distributors, but even they can only do so much.
exactly. So it was it was much easier for a Marvel or a DC or even Image to be like, all right, we're just gonna take a shot and hope that for the best. If some of these indie companies take a shot and miss,
They're done.
that's it. Like that's
I mean,
good night.
look at
End of the
what is
dream.
it? What is it? Blood Moon Comics. Blood Moon is that's
Oh
a
my
publisher that I've
God.
done a lot of
Yeah.
work with. I've interviewed quite a few of their creators. They're good people over there. They do amazing horror stuff, and they're not publishing anything now.
I think they made an announcement that they were coming back, what, like a year, 2 years ago, and now they say, we.
Yeah, so what had happened was they had financial problems a few years back, right after the pandemic, and they went on a hiatus to try and secure some funding, do what they had to do to get it back up and running. They got back up and running. They started putting books out again, and then this crap happens. So they
And not for nothing, but like as a horror comic writer, I was looking into them and thinking, you know what, maybe
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
do
say at one point I know
take
you
on some
were in
help.
talks with them about
Like
stuff. So I
like
mean, it's
I was literally like thinking about maybe if the ownership part is right where I own the IP and I can do whatever I want, maybe I do sign on with Blood Moon Comics,
right
and then
because
like
they're a good
all of
company. They
this.
were reputable. They made sure their people got paid. Like everybody over there worked super fucking hard. Excuse my language, but
Oh, you're allowed to
We
it
get
you're
we
says
get
right
allowed to
here,
we get
swear on
3
on a
unfortunately,
F-bombs
Nerdtooine.
per
it says
episode.
unfortunately we are left with tens of thousands of dollars in unpaid invoices. Tens of thousands of dollars to a small company it will
Is the
shut them
entire
down.
company.
Yeah. As a,
Now,
as
now they haven't said they're going under, but everything is on hold.
mhm.
All their back catalog that they still have already printed and stocked, they've given over to another distributor just so they can sell it off and get rid of the inventory.
Man,
But
that's sad.
I mean, it's crazy.
That's sad. Putting all that work, time,
You
effort,
can't even order anything on
resources
their website now.
in.
You have to go to this other spot. I think it's called Sunburst or something like that. If you go to bloodmoon.com, it redirects you now.
Bro, it's sad because they put all that work into coming back, being financially able to coming back,
Mhm.
for this to be like out of their hands,
Just for
out of
this
their
to knock them
control.
right back down.
That's terrible.
Now, thankfully, like I said, they haven't said they're actually out of business, which is a very good thing. They need to stick around because we need as many indie publishers as we can put out there that are doing legit good business. Like,
Yeah. People
Yeah.
people need to
Well, and
understand, right?
just like we were talking. Good.
If I'm sorry, Nerdtooine,
You
it
good?
if you don't really pay attention to like who wrote what, who drew what, who inked what, who colored what, um, most of your favorite creators did not start off like from the get-go at Marvel, at DC, or even at Image.
they started at these tiny small press spots. They started at Heavy Metal Magazine when it was really small. They started at Image when it was tiny. They started at IDW when all
Right.
they had was the turtles. They like
Most,
they
yeah, most creators don't get a big opportunity to write at DC or Marvel from the get-go. Most creators that
some of them it takes them 20, 30, 40, 50 years to
yeah,
get over to those
right.
companies.
Yep.
I
Some
mean,
creators don't even never cross over to the big publishers. They
and some
do
never want
right.
to, which is
Ex-
also great. I
That's
mean,
and that's why we need like the more indie publisher, the more indie comics you get out there, the more opportunities are there for creators. Paperback has a question. I think we addressed this at the very beginning. 100% laziness, complacency, incompetence, and prioritizing their big customers over everybody else is what led Diamond to where they at now, right? Like the example I gave earlier.
Yeah.
If you take Colorado State, for example, they will always give priority and solve any issues that they have with Mile High
Mile High.
Comics compared to like a small shop
I
that
was saying
didn't,
compared to
you know,
the shop I used to go to that closed down a year or two ago, Comic Town.
Yeah.
they got ignored. They got shipments completely just ignored
Yeah.
a lot. Like
And
there would be weeks where no DC books came in.
if you
There'd be
don't,
weeks where no Marvel books came
right.
in. Like,
And then
like
here's the problem with that. Where for your smaller stores, for people that don't actually like know the logistics or the business side of this, right? Let's say Nerdtooine owes a huge comic book store, right? And his books are always in time. If there's any issues, if they get sold, quick, fast. Compared to, like, let's say JJ and me, we have smaller stores, we have small clientels, right?
where it might take him a week to get a problem fixed, it's gonna take us like 3
Months,
months.
right? Let's say this week I didn't get my books on time, right? um, I could have a small percentage of my customer base that would say, "Oh, okay, I'll come back next week and get my polls, get my subscriptions, or get my variants," right? But the people that just walked in every week, or new customers, or people that don't have the patience, they will go check on JJ's store on that same day, and if
And if they don't
JJ,
see Batman on that shelf and they came in for Batman,
yeah,
they're not buying nothing else because
they'll
they
leave my
wanted Batman.
store,
They will
And
leave.
they're
yeah,
coming
And I
to
just lost a
my
customer
store
exactly,
because
where I
now he
have
thinks
everything.
So
right,
get
because now he
right.
thinks I'm never gonna carry Batman books because
So
he didn't have it last time I went in there. So why would I go in there looking for it this
so
time?
so guess what
Yeah.
happens? All of those books I sell to other people, other people that are not subscribers. I bought. They're in my store, and they're just gonna sit on the stands, and they more than likely they're just gonna end up in the back issues, right? And it is something that I didn't think about until my LCOs told me. Specifically, variant covers, your B, C, D, whatever your ratio,
Yeah.
specifically your ratio of variant covers. If you don't sell them the week they come out, forget about
You're
it.
not selling them.
They're gonna go, yeah, because if somebody comes to my store and I don't have like the B variant, they'll go to your store. If you don't have it, they'll go to the big store, and more than
They'll
likely they're,
probably have it.
yeah, they'll have it. I lost out on that sale, and then I lost out on that money that I invested on those variant covers. So it's like it trickles down heavy
Quick.
towards the bottom, right? It's not like, trickle down economics that exponentially you get some of that money coming. No, the
At
effect,
least theoretically, that's how the trickle
right,
down supposed to
yeah,
work.
theoretically, right? We don't have
That's a
to
whole
get
other
into it. We
podcast.
know it doesn't work, but in theory, that's how people expect it to work. But in the comic book side of the business,
I think I broke
the
nerd.
the way it trickles down, the loss is heavier towards the bottom, right?
Yeah,
Towards your
100%.
local
Yeah.
comic book store that has, a handful of people that are that have subscriptions. That, you know, there are people that do this, that pull 20 books every week. They'll come out and they say, let me get my pulls, and they'll go put them back on the shelves. People do that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I've
I,
watched it happen. I've done it.
right. Like if I wanted the
I don't do both, so
Pichimoco,
I've never done it.
bro, if I'm pulling X-Men, right? I'll get the main cover, and then I'll go to the shelf and exchange it for my Pichimoco, right? If it's not there, I'll be like, okay, I'll just keep whatever the A cover. It's fine, right? Other people will just put it on the shelf, go to the next store and get the variant that they wanted, right? That's
Mhm.
a loss. Why? Because Diamond didn't set the book on time.
Right, and that person already went and found it at another shop.
We're not blaming the customer. Let's just be clear
No,
about
but
that.
this is just the reality
This
of
is the
how
reality of it, right?
people are. Like, if I'm looking for something and I don't find it at one shop, I may even have loyalty to that shop. But
Right.
if they ain't got what I'm looking for, I'm gonna go find it somewhere else.
Yeah, you can expect the loyalty from the
It's the
customers
supply and
to
demand.
save the back practices or the back businesses from the distributor. You see
Yeah,
what
no,
I'm
it's not
saying?
the customer's job
Yeah,
to bail that out.
yeah,
In all honesty, that should be on that. All this is on Diamond, all
exactly.
of it.
That's all we're trying to say. That's all we're trying to say, right? Like
And
who and
and to your point with shops, especially if you go to this next one, like there's companies that have return policies. So like if there's unsold copies of stuff from Dynamite or Distillery, you can send those back as a shop owner and recoup some of that loss, and then they can put it on their online store as as inventory that they can sell direct. You know, like all it is like stuff that didn't sell at the shop. It's perfectly fine. It's probably not damaged. It's probably never even been looked at or touched. But you can't do that. If Diamond goes, you can't do that anymore.
And if you look at like what was said on the slide here, like smaller prints like Massive and some other smaller
Mhm.
publishers, that's either going to be strictly subscription or special orders only.
Meaning if it's
You
not on
know,
your pull list, it's not gonna be in the store.
at all.
They're only gonna order as many as they need to order.
See, oh, excellent point by
Exactly,
paper back
Paper
then,
Dan.
right?
Paper back then.
Let's say you go to my store, you go to JJ store, you didn't find it, you say, okay, I'm not gonna run around town anymore. I'm just gonna buy it online from eBay, from Amazon,
Or
from wherever.
whatnot or
Yeah, or
whatever.
whatnot, right? And then that money that was supposed to go to the local economy, right? To your local businesses, it's gone because the distributor didn't send that book on time or didn't, right? Like if there's been occasions that I go to my store and George will say there was an issue with the delivery, not the shipping, the delivery. It will be here on Friday. I could be okay. I can hold on till Friday, right? Most people can wait a day or two, no biggie, right? But if I go there and my store says the books are not here, we don't know what happened. We reach out to Diamond, we don't know where they're gonna be here. Most people are not gonna wait.
And that's what I've heard so many times at comic shops is, yeah, we've called them, but you know, you can't get nobody on the phone, or yeah, we've sent an email to our rep, but nobody's gotten back to us, or yeah,
I
they got
actually
back
have a
to us, but
story
they
about
haven't done
that.
what they said they're gonna do, so I'm still waiting
Now
on it.
last week
Like,
they say this week they're saying next week.
next week,
Yeah.
yeah, like
I
it's just a never-ending chain of bullshit. Like,
I actually spoke to one of the local comic shops, the owner. I was talking to him about it, and they had an issue because they're going under the Diamond program. The thing we were talking about earlier about how what they used to order
all their
just went
software,
down.
all their logistics.
It just went down, and orders were lost across the board. So
Mhm.
they
So
reached
money
out
that's
to
already
their
been
rep.
spent.
Exactly. They reached out to their rep and was like, "So we wanted to confirm our orders in." And the rep told them like, we don't have any record of your order. What are you talking? What order?" And they've already paid for said order, mind you. So luckily he had a backup because he's kind of OCD like me and backs up everything just because. And he was like, "Here, I just sent you the email. That's my order. Here's
The
the
receipts.
number
Here's the
showing
receipt.
that I paid this." And oh, okay, we'll get it right out to you.
By the
If
way,
he
real
didn't
quick,
have
year,
that
I just
backup,
noticed what shirt you're wearing.
Yeah.
That's my shirt.
Yeah, Born
I
to Read
forgot I ever
Comics.
even made those.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, JJ used to have this online shop. I don't know if you still have it. And he used to
It
sell.
should be up still. I don't know though. I haven't looked at it in a while. I should probably check that and see if there's any money in there.
right? JJ over here sitting on a bill.
Right. I don't even know about it. I
Yeah.
doubt it, but hey, it'd be nice.
Yeah, he used to sell
But
Just remember.
merch,
speaking of
shirts,
money,
and shit like that.
I
Yeah.
did the research and found a list of everything they've reported that they owe to every single publisher, and it's a lot of money. This is all from MSN.com. I didn't like, you know, call these places and ask. So this is just the numbers I could find. But these are small companies. And the fact they owe this much money to some of these companies is insane to me.
Let me put this into context really quick, right? When
Almost $250,000 to Oni Press.
So here's the problem for small publishers, right? They declare bankruptcy. Once the creditors start to pull in money from Diamond to pay all these bills, the order of business is who, like the first people to get paid is who is owed the most to who is owed the least, right?
And you're not getting the full amount. You're going to get a certain percentage on the
Right.
dollar. So
Because
you're probably going to get like 25, 35%
Right.
if you're lucky of what you're
right,
owed.
because they first have to like dispose, like use whatever money they have available, and then they start liquidating,
Liquidating.
liquidating.
I got
Thank you.
you, bro.
Their warehouses, their shipping trucks, their equipment, their I know they make money from selling their branch in Europe, so that money is already probably invested in paying the debt, right? If you are a smart publisher and you depend on, you know, a couple $1,000s to survive for the next quarter, you're not next in line. You're probably bottom of the list.
I was gonna
You
say, for perfect example, look at Blood Moon. We talked about them earlier, how they have
yeah,
to completely shut up shop for a while.
exactly.
They're only owed 8 grand
If they depend exactly, they depended on that 8 grand to
to pay
continue.
their team, to pay for printing, to pay to get their books
Yeah,
out on shelves.
to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
Eight grand compared to other people that are almost a $250,000. That 8 grand could have kept that small publisher in business for at least another quarter, right? And
Like,
they're
how do
not
you
Well,
owe
gonna get
I
that
don't
money,
Battle Quest
actually. No. Hold on. Hold on.
$1,100? How do you owe
It
Battle Quest $1,100?
bro.
it
thirteen
definitely.
dollars to Band of Bards. You can't pay
No,
thirteen
They're a
dollars.
brand new company. How do you already owe them
That's it.
money? Like,
You know what? I'm about to pay that debt for them. I'm gonna
right?
find Van Bar.
Get
You
him on
want
the
Like,
phone.
I
$15?
reviewed a
I
couple of
got
their
you.
books. They put out good, real interesting stuff too. It's
Come
real
on,
different
man.
stuff. Like, it's
But
like,
like
come on, guy. You
eight
can't pay a
grand is really not.
$13 bill.
That's
8 grand
I can
really
pay a
is not
$13
a
bill and I
lot.
got $10 in my bank account. How you do that, man?
this.
This information is from
So
MSN.com. We're gonna have the links
yeah, in every
in
slide we
the
have,
replay.
there's a source
Right there.
from the information is coming from.
Also, in the description, I sent Nerdtooine all the links where I found all this, so you guys can go, and I'm sure you can probably find even better, more information than I did.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, JJ, the reason we have JJ here, number one, is because we love him and we missed him. And number two, JJ has been on
I've been
top.
trying to
He's
follow
been,
this
yes.
so closely.
Listen, I'm in like, I don't know, like 6 Discord servers. I share like 6 Discord servers with JJ, and he be like keeping everybody up to date in every single update, news, article, anything that comes out
And we
that's
haven't even
regarding.
showed you guys or talked about everything
Right.
that's going on. There's still Dark Horse
Yeah.
and Boom that are owed a bunch of money. Then they're having to deal with layoffs. And like, I mean, it's insane. It just goes on and on and on. It's basically, there's not a single comic book creator that is not affected
Yeah.
by this at some level.
Yeah, we're not
Okay.
here ringing the bell saying the comic book industry is over or this is the
No,
collapse of
but
the
this
comic
is
book
going to
industry.
be a real blow to a lot of small companies,
Exactly. This is gonna hurt the indie
which is
scene.
my specialty. I'm kind of the indie guy.
Yeah.
Like-
This is gonna hurt the indie scene. And when you lack
Even like I said, our show has gotten hurt by it because we've had guests cancel because they don't know if their books are going to come out.
books that are already done, right?
Books that are done.
already done, right?
And in some cases, it's like a 5-book series that's done and ready
Oh
to
my
start coming out.
God.
But everything's on hold everywhere right now, basically.
So yeah,
And
And I'm not going to put names
as
and
a
things out there. I
creator,
don't want to put people's business out there. but-
as a creator, I want to say how hurt that would make. I'm only, I have my first book getting printed. I'm working. I'm one of the few, because I'm such a small creator, both in stature and in appeal.
don't let the
that-
close up fool you.
Right.
He's
That's
trying to
why I'm
make
so
himself
big,
look
because-
bigger than us because we're tall. Me and you are both 6 foot or taller. So.
But yeah, so I am just one book in. I'm working on my second issue. If I had 5 issues and I was just told by my publisher, listen, we don't know what we're gonna do. We don't know when it's gonna come out. We're sorry. Just hang tight.
And that publisher
One-
currently owes you money for those books you just gave them.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's
the one.
not their fault they can't pay you because they have to wait for
And
Diamond to
2,
pay them. These people,
if you look at it also,
piles of cash laying around.
it's not like you can just go, fine, if you don't want to do it, I'll put it out myself. And I would say 99.999% of cases, you've already signed a contract for them to be the ones who print it. I'm sure there's always exceptions to the rule. I'm not going to say it's across the board.
Right, and I'm sure
But-
there's small companies that would be willing to let people out of their contracts in extenuating
Right.
circumstances.
But they're not, most cases, you're not just able just to go crowdfund it yourself. They might let you crowdfund it. Like I know SourcePoint, a few years back, they were letting a few of their creators do, like, listen, if you can get the money to print it and do everything, we'll publish it.
And
if it
that I
doesn't
think
raise
is
the
going to be
money,
the
then
route
sorry.
that a lot of these things go now. I think because
I
you and me
agree.
have been talking about this since we met, basically.
Yeah.
Nerdtooine. I mean, you've talked about it with me too on multiple occasions. The crowdfunding, it works.
Yep.
I mean, it's sad that you have to, basically go on the internet and beg your readers for money.
I'm living proof that it works.
But the good side of that is the people who are paying you that money actually care if your book comes out.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like the people that the way I look at it is you're with a GoFundMe or something or a Kickstarter or whatever you're gonna use to promote your shit and try to get people to back you.
Those are the people that actually want your book, and they're not trying to just buy it to resell it or to make a penny, make a dollar off it.
Because they
They
think it's gonna
want
be a
it
collector's item or, or
exactly.
some big company wants to like, slowly steal all the rights away from you so they could turn it into a freaking cartoon later down the line or something,
That sucks, by the way.
Right, yeah. Or, a crappy stop
Sorry.
motion video game or
Whoops.
something like that,
And I think that's a lot of things that when we look at the comic book industry as a whole, even the Marvel and DC have gotten exponentially better in the I maybe call it the renaissance of indie, where all of these indie promotions started coming up out of nowhere and delivering great titles. And I want to send this a little gratuitous shout out to James Tynion, because I feel he was a huge catalyst in making this happen. When someone of his capabilities not only creates something like Something's Killing the Children and puts freaking that whole studio on the map, and then you look at him leaving DC when he's writing fucking Batman and Joker. Who walks away from Batman and Joker?
Somebody who wants more creative freedom over their properties.
And what he did was he went off on his own. He started releasing some of his own stuff through Substack, and his fans, like me, backed him when he did that move. We gave him a whole bunch of money, and he used that to basically launch as a super backer.
Yeah. I get what paper.
He took that to launch Distillery, and Distillery might be the one saving grace from this entire situation. If you want to try to find like a
because
glimmer
it's a
of
successful
hope
model that other indie creators can look at and be like, okay, it's possible without Marvel and DC. I can do this and find a way to make a living off of this without the big companies.
Yeah.
You just have to find that small, loyal audience that's willing to invest in you instead of looking for these major billion-dollar companies to invest in your project. And when they don't care about you as a person or your actual creativity or your art.
I mean, listen,
Wouldn't you rather have the people who are going to end up with the book in their hands in the first place be the ones who helped you make the book a physical object?
I am like a super ridiculously small creator, and I was able to raise for an ash can and an issue 1 over $5,000 to be able to print my books.
And it's because you put
And
the work
I'm a
in.
You and
went
all
out
I did was put in
and
the work.
You went on like a podcast circuit, dude. Like for that ash can, I've never seen somebody put so much effort into getting an ash can backed. An 8-page preview comic. Like it's not even a full comic book.
When I tell you, like, a lot of people say the pandemic was a horrible thing for them, and it was a horrible thing for the world, and a lot of bad things happened. But it honestly saved my life, because it allowed me to refocus my efforts onto the things that I actually cared about. And when I first met you, JJ, and I was just starting that creative process to write my book. And I
think at first you only messaged a few of us to tell us about it because you didn't want everybody else to be like, bro, it's never going to work. Bruh, you're wasting your time, bruh. Like,
and I still got that.
Where you think you Stan Lee, bruh? Like,
I'm the first Nerdtooine, bitch.
But we've all dealt with those kind of people before as a creative, whether you're just a content creator, whether you're making books, whether you're a musician, whatever you're trying to do something. Somebody out there is going to be like, bro, why are you wasting your time with that?
The market's oversaturated, bro. There's
right, bro. There's no way. I'm like, okay, well,
why?
Tell that to Nerdtooine's book that is a horror book with zombies in it that's still getting a bunch of attention.
A black and white book,
me
bro.
and Longbox with our independent comic book podcast that is now 10 subscribers away from 1,000. Go to the Indie Inkwell YouTube and please subscribe. You guys would
do that.
Oh, that would be so epic.
We kind of consider ourselves like cousin podcasts. Like they go, we're every other week. So like when they're on, we're off, and when we're on, they're off.
Well,
like
and plus,
we and
Nerdtooine has been a guest host and a guest and a panelist on our show multiple times.
it's like my second home.
It really is. Like, we love having you over there. You were our first guest. But
No.
that right there is what is going to take to get the indie side of the comic industry over this, is fans and readers actually putting their money where their mouth is and supporting these creators that they say they love so much.
Let me say this. Let me say this. And this is ties into the question that Paperback Dan had, right? He said, I feel like crowdfunding is dangerous because how long until that well dries up? Okay, let me say this. Um, as somebody that kind of knows the history and the timelines of what Comicsgate used to be, um, if you look at what they did, right, outside of like their ideologies or politics, they use their platforms to crowdfund a shitload of projects, right? Number one, the only reason they fell off is because they failed.
Voice.
They failed.
That wasn't the only reason, but that was part of it.
The main reason their crowdfunding startups and projects dried up is because they failed to deliver on time or at all on their books, right? If you go down the list of a lot of people that were Comic Gates creators or were sponsored or were given a platform through the Comics Gate people, they deliver um, 18 months out, 24 months out. There are projects that were fully backed, like, you know, they went over for hundreds of thousands of dollars that still to this day, 4 or 5 years later, have not been delivered, right? People that backed a Kickstarter, people that backed a whatever, um, and still to this day don't even have a digital copy of the book, right? That is the main reason that their entire platform fell off the map, right? Because it's not about
Well,
the
and that's why
quality.
now people struggle to get backers on Kickstarter,
Mhm.
because people remember that.
Yeah,
They remember
it
getting
was
burned.
it was back to back to back to back creators that just were not delivering on time, and it's not because they have like just the exact right amount of money and they have to come out of pocket. No, they were projects that, you know, they were asking for,
Some of
let's
them were like
say,
$100,000 past what they
yeah, there were
needed.
projects that needed 8 grand or 10 grand to put out 1 or 2 books with all the little extra, you know, additional stuff that they promised, and they ended up getting 80,000, 60,000, and they never put out the book or didn't put it out on time, right?
And
That,
people got like stickers and keychains and shit.
yeah, those things, those experiences that backers had is what dried up that well for that platform, right? People like Nerdtooine that never went on a platform as big as that was able to raise through Kickstarter enough funds to put out 2 projects, right? And they were delivered. um if what I'm trying to say is, if creators put out projects and they deliver on time, that will, you know, earn the trust and confidence of the customers and the consumers to not only back them in the future but promote their stuff, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if I like your project, loved it, but it was late by a year, you think I'm gonna, you know, for your next round or your next iteration of the next project, I'm gonna ask my friends or family or people that follow me, right? Tell them on my platform, hey, Nerdtooine's putting another book. You might want to check it out. You might want to support it. No, no, right? If I have some integrity or some
Right.
full
You have any
disclaimer,
shred of
right?
integrity, you're not going to direct your friends, family, or
Right.
viewers to go and give somebody money that's not going to give them their end product.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
The
And now
reason
I do
I
want to say,
believed in the beginning that Nerdtooines was going to be good was because I knew how much passion he was putting into it before anything even got announced.
and we also
I,
saw the
The
project.
progression of the work going
Yeah,
into it.
yeah, because he will hit you. It's like, hey, this is page 2. What
Right.
you? And he
look
would
at
say,
this, look at
Bro, I
tell me.
get raw pencil sketches in my DMs, okay? Like stuff that doesn't even have ink or a background yet.
Bro,
Like-
Nerdtooine would say, hey, this is page 2. tell me what you hate about it. I was like, whoa, bro, calm down.
Right, but that's it's the right question asked slightly the wrong way. You know,
Right.
like it's not what do you hate about this? It's hey, bro, what do you think I can improve on? in
I-
this?
Nah,
when
You
he,
nah,
got to
nah.
be
You
nicer
bro,
to
hate it. I know you
yourself
hate it.
when he
sometimes.
came at me like that, I already knew there was something he didn't like. So I had to say, I had to identify on my own, and they say, okay, bro, this is a little
It's
off.
almost like talking to your girlfriend and she's trying to tell you, no, nothing's wrong, but she's sitting there and won't look at
I'm
you.
fine.
Like,
I'm fine.
and now you just have to figure out what you did wrong
Basically, that's how
with no
that was the
information.
dynamic. No, man, but yeah. So I hope that
Well,
answers your question, paperback. Then, like, yes,
and
Yeah,
paperback.
we tend to
I
ramble on
also,
when we're answering questions.
yeah, there are
I
people
also
that are
do
still
think.
willing to back projects as long as those creators deliver right on
Mhm.
time. Forget
If
about the
I know I'm gonna
quality.
get the
Yeah,
book, I'll back anybody's
yeah.
stuff, really.
Forget about the quality. Forget about if it's good or not. The main thing is they have to deliver on time, right?
Because even if it is your first book and you don't think it's like that great or whatever, at least finish it and put it out and give it to the people who backed you.
I was just
Because
about.
it's
I
just
see where
like
paperback's going.
with videos or music or whatever, when you first start doing something, the very first thing you're going to do is probably going to suck. But that's why you
So
ask people for input. That's why you improve things. That's why you know what I'm saying? Like you tweak here and there. Nerdtooine,
so
the first thing he ever sent me didn't look that great. But by the end of the fucking, or I'm sorry, God, my
Dude,
language is
that's true.
horrible today.
We
I don't
got
know
one left.
why.
We gotta use
We
it
got a 3
wisely.
limit, right?
Yeah.
All right. All right.
limit.
I'm a keep that third one in the back pocket just in case.
Oh, you are
But
not stealing that from me like Wolverine would do to Deadpool. No, you are not. No, but
oh,
to answer Paperback Dan's question, I see exactly where he's going. That's what I was going to speak on. So his basically saying that if these bigger names start moving over to
Crowdfunding.
crowdfunding, it's going to. Oh, that's not supposed to be there. So hold on.
I was like, what is this transition? What's going on?
oh yeah, that's another
That was a
quote
horrible.
from that's a quote we didn't
Well,
end up getting able to get to
we'll,
because
we'll,
I
we'll
don't
get
want
to
to
that
keep
in a
us here
second.
all
So
night.
here,
But
here we go. So I do agree that if these bigger names and indie presses start going on to Kickstarter, it's going to make it harder for smaller people to actually get their books out there. And one thing I think to say to that is, you're right. You're 100% right. But what it's going, I think
it's
and
gonna
this is
make
me
everybody
as the
step their game up.
creator. Thank you. I was and me as a creator, I'm going to try to spin this in the most positive way as I can. There's going to be a lot of
More
people that may
competition is
not
not
make it.
necessarily a bad thing.
I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to either shape up or ship the hell out.
Well,
And I
and
think
also one
that
thing
might
you'll
be
find
good,
as a
but
creator in this industry, and one thing I've noticed as a media person in the industry is the indie side is not as competitive with each other as you would think.
yes, because we all
Many
kind of want to
indie
see each other
creators are
succeed.
super supportive of other indie creators. Like you will probably get your first couple books backed by more other creators than you will actual readers.
That is
Yeah.
that's a good example of that is I was showing my wife. There are like these European creators that have like made their way into the market here in America, right? Like you have people like Maria Love and people like Loana Vecchio that are basically translating their work into like an American comic book format through Image, right? And you see all the time that Maria Love and Loana Vecchio do variant covers for their projects. Like they support each other in that way, right? And that's just one way to do that. So yeah, I agree. Indie creators don't be stepping on each other's necks to prosper, right?
Mhm.
They're all coming up. They're all on the come up together, if you will.
Yeah.
Yep, there's down in Cincinnati, you guys, if you ever watch the Indie Inkwell, you've probably seen me talk to a few of these people, but Cincinnati has such a huge independent comic book scene. It's insane. They have festivals, they have focus groups, they have, they have meetups and they have draw and drinks and they have, all these cool events, but it's all to help support each other. They formed a big coalition. They do theater, they do magazines, they do anything they can do to help boost each other. And I think we're
And
just going to start
it's
seeing a lot
awesome.
more of that happening because people are going to realize not in almost nobody can do any of this on their own 100%. I mean,
Trust me.
even Nerdtooine, he had to find an artist.
Trust
He
me.
had to find somebody to print those suckers. You know, you like he had to have somebody teach him how to use Restream. He had to
No, I didn't. I just woke up and knew how to do that. There's a
but that's
standards,
my point. Like,
and
I
it's
had to have
Marvel and
somebody teach
me.
me how to do this. I had to have somebody donate me my first webcam. You know, like it's nobody does this 100% on their own.
No, and I think that's one saving grace. If we are going to try to find some silver lining, is that I think all this really means for us who love indie comics is that we actually got to show that we love indie comics. We
Mhm.
can't just say we love indie comics anymore. If you're either going to create them or buy them or back them, whatever your lane is,
Yeah, it's time
we
to
have
step
to
up
show up.
and support the industry that is struggling. Like, if we don't want to see it go away, we have to help keep it up. It's not our
Yeah.
responsibility to save it necessarily, but we do have to do something to help.
Yeah, I think we may not be the ones controlling it, but we got to at least have a hand on the wheel, if nothing but to hang on for dear life.
Yeah, because I mean, if the indie side of things goes away, what's the point of my show? What's the point of your show? What's the point of you making books if you can't distribute them? You know, I mean, what's the
No.
point of Year of the Collector doing stuff for Nerd Initiative if there's nothing to do reviews on? Like, I mean,
So
there's
so basically what he's saying is please help us save the indie comic community so we don't see grown men crying.
I was say, and this was like I think I partially suggested this episode, or me and Kyle kind of, you know, meshed ideas on it because we're like, we saw it happening long before a lot of people did.
Yeah.
We have been seeing this coming since the pandemic because Diamond never recovered from the pandemic and we knew something was going to happen. I just don't think we expected this in particular to happen, but
No.
I
I definitely
expected
didn't think we were
publishers to
going to watch
start
it at
dropping
all.
indie people is what I expected to start happening. And Diamond just dropped everybody. So
We're out. Peace.
right, like
And we again I keep coming back to this, and it's because there's competition. Granted, this is a dark time, this is a scary time, but
these are the
somewhere
times that breed
along this
innovation, though.
line,
This is when new things are going to pop up that make
yeah,
things better.
and
And that
that's
can
what
go for
we
everything
clearly need
happening
that.
for everybody worried about all the other craziness in the damn world right now.
What do
Like,
you mean? The world's perfectly calm and
Yeah.
sane everywhere. What do you mean?
once again, that's a whole other podcast. But like in general, though, like these kind of things, you
Everything's
know,
fine.
right? As the dog sipping coffee while the room burns down around him.
This is fine. This is fine.
But I think at the end of it all, though, it will be all right because what this is
Well,
going to
because
do
people
is
like
going to
us, we're
make
not going to let it.
it's going to scare everybody for a while, but then indie creators will do what indie creators always do and get stubborn and refuse to not put their stuff
You're not
out.
stopping me, some bitch.
Right. So it's going to be all right, but we definitely have to help if we're able to. Like, buy a book from somebody. If you can't afford a book from somebody, buy a sticker from one of the characters in their book. Buy, like, you know, something. Donate $1 to their PayPal, like something to help their next book come out.
Yeah.
Because
If you like the book, talk about it. Spread the
if
word.
you like
Do a
reading these,
review. Yeah.
then we need to help the creators out who are trying to keep us entertained.
Yeah. Anything helps, really. Anything helps.
Yeah, no, and that's so true. Like when you talk about just getting books funded, every little bit helps. People are like, "Oh, well, he's almost close to the goal. He doesn't need my $10." That $10 helps. Every single little
Because
bit
even if
goes
they've already
to
reached the goal, that extra
making it.
$10 can go into making the next issue better.
Yep.
To pay for maybe a better letterer or a better artist or whatever the
Paperback
case
then.
may be, you know, like,
Me too.
or, you know, better material, better quality paper, better whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
No, again, I keep wanting to say it's not cheap or easy to make comic books, to sell comic books, to distribute them, get them in stores, the amount of steps you have to take, getting to conventions, like so you can
Oh,
talk
dude,
about it to
that's a
people and
whole
get.
other podcast right
Oh
there.
my god, yes it is. But when it's we all if we all
We
just
just thought
kind
of like
of
5 new episodes for your guys' show just in this one conversation.
if we want the comic book industry as a whole, but especially indie comics to succeed, find small creators, give their comics a chance. If you don't, we're not saying if you don't like it, don't just spend the money because. But if you like it, keep going back because they'll keep
Look for
delivering.
interviews on
We'll-
people's shows,
we'll
not just
reward
mine.
your
I'm not
faith.
trying to make this just a big long commercial for Indie Inkwell at all. Even though we do interview some really awesome creators, and you should go check
It's
them
totally
out.
fine if there is a long. But
But no, like there's a lot of podcasts doing what we do now, and there's a lot of amazing creators out there that you just need to look for.
Yep.
So
okay, so we try to keep these episodes at around an hour.
That's a
I
lie.
look up.
That's a lie.
I said try. I didn't say we do.
We don't try.
Come
We don't
on.
even
when was the
try. We
last
say
time
we
any
do
of
it,
us had a
but we don't.
podcast that ended on time or started on time?
Okay, well, hold on. Technically, part 2 of episode 2 was under an hour. We had to break it up into 2 parts, but it was technically under an hour.
Well, this one was not. But we had a lot of stuff to talk about. It's a big issue.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, since we're at the hour and 10-minute mark, do we have any final monologues in regards to this, or last?
I think I've said everything I can say as a person that just on the media side of things. Like, go support your favorite indie creators. Go to a local book signing and meet your indie creators because they go to the small comic shops all the time trying to push their books. Most of them are
Yep.
super awesome and nice to talk to. If you're a scared, shy introvert, so are they.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
No,
thing I've
and
noticed is even the big name comic book creators who I've gotten to talk to, a couple of them,
Yep.
they're pretty introverted, shy individuals. Dan Jurgens didn't say much when I interviewed him for
I remember that.
GalaxyCon.
And that also
Like, I
surprised
recorded
me.
all those interviews and all those panels I did that weekend.
It
And a
surprised.
lot of those people, I had to kind of pry teeth to get them to give me more. You know, we got to fill up some time, guys.
I remember I saw that, and it surprised me that Steve Orlando spoke more than Gianni Paquet in that Burn, because Burn, I didn't say
I was
some
told
crazy
before
shit.
that panel by a couple of people who worked at the convention, they're like, Steve Orlando will try to take over your panel. Shout out though, Steve Orlando. You did not try to take over the panel. Everything you said was relevant.
He dropped a lot of true bombs that I still to this day.
He spoke his mind, and that's what I want every guest to do.
Yeah.
Every person I talk to in an interview, I want them to not be scared of their publisher, and he was definitely not.
Bro, he was shitting on DC and Marvel, and he's employed by both right now.
But
Love
he
it.
wasn't scared to call out the BS when he saw it, you know, like. And some people from that interview that in the comment section didn't like what he had to say about certain topics. And those are mostly fans who are on the more misogynistic side of things, you know?
Yeah.
Because there was a whole conversation about Wonder Woman, and it was like a whole Wonder Woman panel. So of course it was a conversation about Wonder Woman, but
Out to JJ, he had a panel with for Wonder Woman topic, right? Steve Orlando, Gianni Paquet, and John Byrne. That's crazy. Was there somebody else?
There was. I can't even remember who was on every panel because I had 7 panels in 3 days that I only had 2 days to prepare for.
Right.
It was ridiculous.
Bro, that was crazy. But they were all Wonder Woman creators.
Because like the very first panel I had to do that weekend was Dan Jurgens. You know, like it was all Superman creators. It was all like the biggest Superman creators. The one after that was all Green Lantern people. So you had Ron Mars and Daryl Banks and like all these freaking legends. Then I had a Lobo and a Deadpool panel, so I got to talk to Simon Bisley and like, dude, like all these Ada Wong, like all these
crazy.
like megastar creators, and all of them are just nerdy introverts like the rest of us, except for Simon Bisley. Simon Bisley extroverted nerd, very extroverted. You ask him a question, you will get a very honest answer.
Tell people where they can watch all of that right now.
On the Indie Inkwell YouTube channel, it is now called. I've rebranded all my social media. It is now no longer JJ's Comic Stuff. It is the Indie Inkwell, although it will still appear as JJ's Comic Stuff on certain pages because certain apps are lame and won't let you change your name after you've had it for so long.
But yeah,
But
great.
you can find all that stuff there. It's all in playlists. Every interview I've ever done is on that channel. So you guys can go check out all kinds of awesome indie creators and chats with bigger name creators.
Go follow, like, subscribe, everything in the Inkwell in all social media platforms. Nerdtooine, last words.
Last words, famous last words. Well, let's start off with JJ. Thank you very much for joining us today and for providing all this great information, sourced information, like slide. You gave me slides, bro. Like that's not something a guest normally does, and I want to thank you thoroughly.
I'm
for
a
that.
very prepared individual, man. I don't like to go into something without all my information. So
and we appreciate that. Also,
and like I said, I'm not an expert on any of the stuff we've talked about today. I'm not a legal expert. I'm not a bankruptcy expert. I'm not a tax expert. I'm not even very good with math. Okay. Just in general. But I'm good at research. So.
And definitely give JJ a follow. Check out the Indie Inkwell. If you want to check out the interviews that he was talking about, besides the panels, I was the very first ever guest.
He was on episode 1, I think episode 12, I think episode 26, episode 38.
I've been a co-host, a guest,
and a panelist.
I love their content. Like I said, they're basically like a cousin podcast to us. When we're off the air, they are on the air almost the exact same time.
We have been on a bit of a hiatus recently because people have been canceling episodes because they don't know if their books are coming out. So bear with us while we keep trying to find new guests.
For the record, I am available. Also,
well, you got a new issue coming out soon anyway, so we're gonna have to talk again regardless.
It's working. It's
and that's gonna be
it's working.
That's gonna be a pretty epic one. There's some reveals I know about that I can't say yet that I'm excited for. So,
and then also got to give a shout out to Year once again. Thank you, my friend, for joining me on this journey as we relaunch Planet Nerdtooine. Well, I guess launch Planet Nerdtooine. So make sure you follow Year. He does a great segment on all of our episodes where he calls "What is Year's issue?" and he just picks an issue of a current run and we just talk about it. Because
I kind of bogarted today's episode. Sorry, everybody.
No,
that's good.
We planned. I was like, listen,
give me a break this week.
This is what we're doing. We ain't gonna have no segments.
This is only the second time I have not been the one doing the interview. So you want to talk about having a break, man. This is lovely for me.
Thank you for everyone who's been in the chat for this whole time. Paperback Dan, thank you so much for all your great comments. Cody Collects, always a pleasure having you guys in here. I'm sure I'm gonna miss somebody's name as I'm scrolling through here trying to say hi to everyone. And definitely give us a follow, subscribe. We're a Planet Nerdtooine pretty much everywhere. And we will see you again in 2 weeks. And when we return, Year of the Collector is actually going to host that episode because he is going to be interviewing both me and the interior illustrator of my comic, Here Walks Monsters.
I haven't even gotten to interview your artist.
Oh, we got.
I haven't got to interview my artist.
we gotta fix that.
Somehow I have not gotten to interview Martin yet, and I'm like,
hey, listen, have your people call my people, and I'll have my people call his people, and we gonna get it lined up.
But I gotta say, I just gotta let you know, my assistant, he's got ADHD. And he forgets things, so it's gonna take a while to get this set up. But I guarantee you, we'll get this set up. No,
it's okay because mine also has ADHD, and somehow those always work well together.
That's why it took so long to get this episode going.
But until next time, everyone, thank you so much for stopping by and stay nerdy, my friends.